Hey, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and we are tracking storms, hail, another form of ice, freezing rain, and the potential for some really impressive snowfall totals. Where do we even begin with this very packed forecast today? Well, let's start with that winter system that's coming in over the next 24 hours. We have record-breaking cold temperatures, many people below zero. Yes, not below freezing, below zero, as we head into early Thursday morning. Widespread snowfall comes with this chance for winter weather. That goes anywhere from Colorado to Oklahoma, all the way up to the Midwest and out to the East Coast. Now, I also mentioned that chance for flooding and potential hail risk down to the south. Now, that'll be for Houston, so we do have a hail risk in Houston today. We'll talk about exactly your timeline, where we could see the largest hailstones and what will the largest hailstones be. We'll talk about that. And then we are also bracing for more snow. Yes, we have another round of snow this weekend, so we'll talk about that as well. As always, comment where you're watching from. Where are you guys watching from today? Are we talking about places down in Houston where you're watching the hail potential, or are you talking about snow out in Colorado? We'll talk about all of this over the next few minutes as we get into this forecast here. Now you can see all of that snow that moved out across the East Coast yesterday. After that, we had just a few pockets of snow across the U.S. We had a few pockets of snow up in places like South Dakota. Colorado really got a white Tuesday. What was yesterday? Tuesday. Just a ton of snow across Colorado, which we'll talk more about in just a few minutes as well. You can see that we've got a cold front coming through the U.S. right now. This is going to bring some really, really intense cold temperatures down from North Dakota, South Dakota, into Minnesota and places like Wisconsin. Below zero. Yes, below zero as we head into early tomorrow morning. But before that happens, what is going on right now? Quiet across the East Coast. Quiet across the southeast as well. Where's our snow at? Just south of Chicago, we have a few snow showers in Indiana and Illinois. A winter mix across Missouri at the moment, but the bulk of the snow is sitting just across the Rockies and to the east in eastern Colorado and southern Colorado as well. Current temperatures, this is important here, are in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Now, anywhere that is above freezing today, 44 in Oklahoma City, 38 in Kansas City, anything that's on the ground right now has the potential to melt and refreeze tonight. So who has snow right now? Not Oklahoma City. Not worried about that refreezing in Oklahoma City. Places like St. Louis. St. Louis could get above freezing today, which means that anything that you have on the ground right now could melt and then refreeze overnight. So even if you're not getting snow tomorrow morning, keep an eye on those wet roads, because if it looks wet, it's probably ice, or black ice rather. We have a lot of snow that's still sitting across Minnesota and Chicago, probably not melting today, but it's going to keep temperatures even colder for tomorrow. But let's move on to a different type of ice. Instead of, are we good on audio, John?
We're great.
We're great. Okay, just making sure. Okay, so now we're going to get into that severe weather. So instead of freezing rain, let's move on to hail. Two different types of ice here. When are we seeing that hail? Today. It'll be later on tonight. 8 to about 10 o'clock, maybe midnight tonight. Across the southern portion of Texas, so we're talking about southeast Texas here, anywhere from Houston all the way down to Galveston, maybe even as far south as Corpus Christi, and then into Louisiana as we head into the late night hours. The largest hailstones, I think, will be right in the Houston area, right here, where you could see those yellows pop up on the board here. Now again, I say largest hailstones, but how large exactly? I would go with maybe quarter-size hail tonight. You know, it's not terribly impressive, but hey, it's something, especially for December. Here's a look at your timeline. You can see that maybe some light rain is possible this afternoon. However, better chances for storms as we head into the late night hours, 8 o'clock to 10, 11, maybe even midnight tonight. It'll be scattered on and off showers and storms with a lot of lightning, a little bit of thunder as well. You could even see a potential land spout off the coast here. That is not the only chance for rain. We also have another round of rain early tomorrow morning, and that's going to contribute to the flood risk. So let's break this down for you. Let's go down to that marginal risk today. Anywhere that's highlighted here in red, so you see this like red bubble right here, this is the potential for thunderstorms, but not severe. Highlighted here in green, there's your severe risk for today. Here's a look at your hail risk. Quarter size hail Again, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock tonight will be the best time to get hail. Houston to Galveston are the better chances for hail, but you could also see quarter-size hail up to Beaumont and Lake Charles today. Max hail size, I already went over this, quarter-size hail. Moving on to some other hazards, what about that tornado forecast? It's very, very low on land. However, just outside, just off land here, just in the Gulf, you could see some land spouts. The likelihood for these land spouts to make it on land and actually sustain themselves for a significant tornado is extremely low, which is why we do not have a risk for today. Very, very low tornado risk. Here's a look at your timeline for Houston. Again, I said about 7 to 8 o'clock tonight until 10 to 11 o'clock tonight. The chance for hail, 1-inch size hail is possible. That's your main severe weather risk today. 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are also possible, but it's a very low risk. And again, I talked about that chance for tornadoes, also a very low risk for tornadoes. So there's your risk today. Before we move on from Houston, do we have any weather questions out there? We do also have a level 1 marginal risk for flooding as well. And again, that's because it's several rounds of rain. It's on and off rain tonight, all the way through early tomorrow morning. That could accumulate in some places up to 3 inches of rain, which could cause a low flash flooding risk. Again, level 1 flash flood risk means isolated flash flooding. For today, it's in Houston, for tomorrow in New Orleans, and then for Friday across the Florida Panhandle, southern portions of Alabama, and southern Georgia as well. On Saturday, we continue this flash flood risk. We kind of have an atmospheric river-like setup here where we have that moisture that comes into Texas today, Louisiana tomorrow, and just slowly navigates to the east as we head into the weekend. So that's Houston. There's southern Texas and southern Louisiana. What about the rest of the U.S.? Well, we've got a little bit of snow going on across the Midwest today. That's going to continue to track out to the east as we head into late tonight and early tomorrow. We also have snow across Colorado today, and to talk about that potential snowfall in Colorado today, or not potential, ongoing snowfall, I'm going to bring in meteorologist Michaela Smith. Now, Michaela, we have seen already many, many inches of snow.
Yes.
Across a good portion of Colorado, causing traffic troubles this morning. We've seen those snowplows out as well. Or is it going to let up anytime soon? What are people seeing out the door in Colorado?
Yeah, you know, the good news is people closer to Lake Denver, they had those traffic hazards more this morning. Snowplows have been out for a while now, though, and we just watched some go through, and I just watched again as we were literally talking. Another round went through, but the snow's moving to the south. So areas to the south, like Colorado Springs, are seeing some of that heavier snowfall now. Pueblo is going to see it a little bit later, so I can kind of break down that people closer to Denver are getting a break.
Absolutely.
Not everybody else is.
Not everyone. All right. Okay, well, I will let you break this down, and I think we're going to see some live cameras later.
Yes, we are going to show you some live cameras from Colorado. So here's what Taylor was talking about, those storm chances today down in Houston, but we are going to take a closer look to Colorado. So this is right around 12:30, so kind of actively what we're talking about right now. Still seeing that snowfall from Denver, areas to the west as well, and then all down the I-25 corridor. So Colorado Springs, Pueblo, even down into New Mexico, you are likely to continue to see the snowfall over the next several hours. And it really does start to get heavier later on this evening. This is 8, 9 p.m. Now you really start to see it shifting out of Denver at this point, but it's still all down I-25 and to the south. You're in New Mexico. Even the Oklahoma and Texas panhandle seeing a little bit of snowfall. This is right around 2 o'clock in the morning. You're starting to see this weather system kind of shifting more towards the east, and you kind of start to wrap that up by early Thursday morning, and that's when we maybe talk about snow in the plains, which we'll talk more about that here in just a few minutes. So here's those 24-hour snow totals. You can see really where this snow has been kind of forecast. Yesterday we talked about it was going to be along I-25. That's where that heaviest snow did fall. We've had reports in Denver of 1 to 4 inches of snowfall just to the west side of Denver in Golden, Colorado. They've had 6 to 7 inches reported, and then areas to the south at Colorado Springs have already had 2 to 3. But with that snow ongoing, we're still seeing more snowfall. So here's a closer look in. Again, you can see more into the mountains. So Idaho Springs, you're talking about anywhere from maybe 8 to 10 inches of snowfall it's showing over those 24-hour totals. This is radar indicated, but that doesn't mean in some of those areas they haven't seen maybe a little bit less or possibly a little bit more. And you can see really where that's kind of lined up has been along I-25 and then just to the west for parts of the mountains. It's also where we have our watches and warnings. Here's our winter weather advisory that extends through Colorado and down into New Mexico. So that's a winter weather advisory. That's the one in purple. That is really for today. Areas to the north are going to see that start to expire here by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Closer to Denver, you're going to see that expire about 6 o'clock this evening. So we just showed you that timeline that a lot of that snow is starting to push out by about 8. And then further to the south, it's about 8 o'clock, maybe midnight. And then as you head more into New Mexico, we're going to see those warnings not going up until about 2, 3 o'clock tomorrow morning, because it's as that snow is kind of shifting away. And then that's also where we have our winter storm warning goes until 2 o'clock. That's going to be areas in pink. And that's going to be some areas could see 10 to 20 plus inches possible. We're talking about a feet of snow possible in some of these locations. So the impacts could be up higher elevations. We're talking about very dangerous to impassable travel. You're not going to be able to travel when you have 20 feet of snowfall if those plows can't get out there fast enough. And if temperatures continue to stay cold, that could become a problem over the next several days. So this is currently where, again, we have these winter weather advisories in winter storm warning. So along I-25 is where we've seen that snowfall. I am going to show you some traffic cameras now. We'll start off looking in Denver, Colorado, and then we'll kind of work our way down to show you some of those different areas that we talked about in this winter weather advisory and in that winter storm warning. So we can pull up and show the traffic cameras in Denver.
They're up. You're not seeing it, but they are up.
They are up? Okay, perfect. So traffic camera in Denver is what you're seeing right now. This is where Taylor and I also had plows that we were watching coming through earlier, so we may post that on social media later, so that'll be something that's really interesting to see. You can also see that because those plows have been out across Denver, that travel conditions so far are really starting to improve. Now, when we were looking at these traffic cameras at about 8, 9 o'clock this morning, there were a lot more delays across the area. We want to flip over to the next one, Taylor. I think we start to move more towards the south, or maybe this next one is actually Golden, Colorado. This is just to the west of Denver. So this is where I mentioned to you that they had 6 inches of snowfall reported. And you can see those main streets at that point do have kind of that it has been cleared a little bit more, but those side streets you really see here are not fully cleared. So I've been watching this traffic camera. Cars are going pretty slowly through there. Once they get back to those kind of main thoroughfares, things are a little bit better, but there are still quite a few slowdowns in this area. I think we can jump to the next one now. This one's in Colorado Springs. So as you move more down 25, we're still in a winter weather advisory in Colorado Springs, but check out some of these areas. Snow plows have not been here yet. So you can see there's a car right now taking it very slowly through this intersection. Where other cars have been traveling, you know, you're starting to get a little bit more traction, but making those turns, coming off of those roadways and turning onto other roadways is when you really need to use some caution. So seeing this in some places in Colorado Springs, you can also, if you really zoom in here, see that's where that snow is heavily coming down now, and it's going to continue to come down till 8, 9, 10 o'clock this evening. So it's going to be a lot of snow plows if they eventually get them out there going over the same areas again and again. And I think we have one more to show you. This isn't a video, this is just a still picture, but it's showing you these near whiteout conditions. So when this really heavy snowfall is coming, this is further to the south, so this is past Colorado Springs, closer to about Pueblo. We're really starting to see that snow pick up at this location. So you can see cars out on the road, but it really is limiting visibility when this heavy snow is falling. So that's why we talked about those near whiteout conditions and why where we see this winter storm warning later on, this is going to be those areas that we're watching for possible impassable conditions, because there's going to be so much snowfall coming down in a very short amount of time. Snow plows really can't get out there and start to clear the snow at that point. So thank you for letting us see those traffic cameras. We'll kind of zoom back away from the traffic cameras now. And then I'm just going to show you one more thing. So we've seen quite a bit of snow now. We just talked about some places have seen 6 inches. Up in the mountains, you've already seen 8, 9 inches of snowfall. But there's still more to come, especially areas to the south between Colorado Springs, Pueblo, getting closer to the border of New Mexico. You're still seeing 6 inches at this point. Now you're sitting at about 10 o'clock tonight. You're seeing a foot of snowfall at this point. So it's falling very quickly. You get to about 5 o'clock in the morning, you're sitting in between 10, 12 inches. So this is the area where that winter storm warning is that we talked about, could see over 20 inches of snowfall possible. So this really starts to add up at this point. Now you're until about the middle of the day tomorrow and you're still seeing these totals increasing. But I also want to show you this system is going to be moving towards the plains. So I'm going to bring Taylor back in now to kind of talk about how where the snow is falling in Colorado currently. You know, we just showed you those videos. They have to have the snow plows out. They are doing a lot to keep those roads passable. That by me moving this way. And one thing about Oklahomans, we don't handle snow very well.
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, that snow and a little bit of ice that we saw on Monday, it wasn't a lot, but we had over 100 wrecks in Oklahoma City. And Michaela, you were telling me over 60 wrecks in Tulsa. Yeah. Unfortunately, a little goes a long ways here, so we're not getting as much snow as Colorado is getting. thankfully. I don't think that would be well.
It would shut down the entire state
for a while. However, we could still see that winter weather, and you can see that behind us. So I'm going to break that down. Michaela, we appreciate you being here for us and tracking that Colorado snow.
Yes.
A ton of a ton of snow in Colorado, not a ton of Colorado in snow. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit more about a more serious thing. I know that snow is a lot of fun. However, we absolutely have to take this serious because early tomorrow morning, not only will we get that blast of cold weather, we are also going to get a little bit of winter weather, winter mix moving in. You can see in some of these areas that we've got these areas highlighted in pink. That's ice. That's freezing rain that could be accumulating on the ground. I don't think that this is the only area to see freezing rain. I actually think that we could see that across the southern portion of the metro into Moore and Norman, Oklahoma. Better chances for snow will be farther out to the west, anywhere from western Oklahoma down to Clinton along I-40 and across I-35, maybe even up to Stillwater. No, it's not going to be a blanket of snow. It's not going to be what they saw in Colorado. No, no, no. But we could see in some areas isolated 1 to 2 inches of snow. That's absolutely possible. I will also tell you the HER model right around or shortly before lunchtime was a lot more aggressive about how much snow we were going to get. So this could change. This is a change from what we saw early this morning. We did not see this type of snow and ice early this morning in our models. Now we are starting to see that. Better chances for more snow accumulation farther out to the west. Again, you go down to the south of I-40. That's when you get that winter mix, anything from grapple or sleet to snow, freezing rain. You could see any of that turning to ice as it melts on the roadways and then refreezes because of those cold temperatures that we're getting tomorrow, which we'll get into here in just a few minutes. This snow could go all the way up the Turner Turnpike into places like Tulsa, where I do think that accumulations will be very minor, but as we talked about earlier, a little goes a long ways, especially in some of our southern states like Oklahoma and Arkansas. After tomorrow afternoon, by about 3, maybe 4 o'clock, the snow will stop in Oklahoma, moving to Arkansas and southern Missouri at this point, continuing to track to the east into places like Memphis, Nashville, Kentucky. Again, you may see that white and pink on the board. That does not mean that we're going to get a blanket of snow in these areas. More likely than not, a dusting to maybe very isolated 1-inch snowfall totals until you get to the mountainous regions, and then you're going to see those snowfall totals go up. You're also going to get some ice in these areas as well. I would keep an eye on North Carolina for those ice, more impressive ice totals. So a little recap here, and if we do have any questions on the winter weather tomorrow, we can talk about that, or we can talk about the severe weather today. We have that hail risk down in Houston all the way into southwestern Louisiana today. Tomorrow, we could still see some thunderstorms anywhere that's circled in red. However, the severe risk tomorrow is very low. Friday, that tracks out to the east into places like southern Alabama, Georgia, and northern Florida. Saturday, we do not have a severe risk right now. However, things could change between now and then. We have a very evolving system here. Take a look at your future radar, just kind of a recap here. That snow that's out in Colorado right now will be moving into Oklahoma late tonight and early tomorrow morning. We also have snow up in the Midwest that will be moving into our New England states by early tomorrow morning as well. Play this on through here. It's going to start out to the west in western Oklahoma, moving into central Oklahoma by or shortly before lunchtime. So we're talking about a morning commute to lunchtime system here. That's what we're talking about. Your morning commute could potentially be very slick across the metro. I want you to be prepared for that. Other slick areas all the way up the East Coast where we could see another round of snow as this moves from the Midwest to our New England states. Then we continue to see this round. We've got 2 rounds going on right now. This one down in southern Missouri and this other one up in our New England states. Again, will continue to track to the east. Tons of moisture across the southeast as well, so we could see that flooding risk continuing all the way through Friday and Saturday. After that, are we going to see any more snow this weekend? Well, look at this. This is Saturday. We've got another round of snow for Kansas and southern Nebraska. Set by Saturday night and into Sunday, this moves into Missouri and Kentucky after that. I do want to slow down here, and I want to remind you guys, let's do one system at a time. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and say, oh no, we need to cancel our Saturday plans because it could snow. A lot of things could change between now and then, and I know that we say that a lot, but that's something to remember. Here's one thing that we do know. It's going to get very cold, which means any snow that is on the ground right now that doesn't melt today will stay all the way through Friday. Until temperatures warm up Friday afternoon, you're going to see the snow that's on the ground right now stick around unless it's plowed or salted all the way through Friday morning and into the afternoon hours. Your snowfall accumulations look a lot more impressive out in places like Colorado than they do in Oklahoma, where we could see a dusting to maybe an inch or two in some places, and then very, very similar accumulations across places like Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky. How cold is it going to get? I think that's a big question, especially for places like North and South Dakota into Minnesota. Temperatures are going to get below 0, not below freezing, below 0. Look at how cold it gets by early Thursday morning. Here we are at Thursday at 9 a.m. Your temperature, not your feel-like temperature, not the wind chill, but your actual temperature is 9 degrees below 0. Head farther down to the south, it's well below freezing in Kansas City and St. Louis on Thursday morning. Factor in the wind to that, and that drops about 10 degrees. So in Kansas City, it'll feel like 2. In St. Louis, it'll feel like 5. In Oklahoma City, it can feel like the teens. It's going to be very cold on Thursday morning. So even if you're not getting any form of winter precip, snow, sleet, freezing rain, you could still be feeling those extremely cold temperatures. They won't stick around for too long. It's going to be cold on Thursday. However, it'll warm back up to the 50s for a good portion of us on Friday, especially down to the south. That cold air really stays in this pocket in the Midwest, and that's going to move to our New England states later on this week. Oh, look at that, 53 on Saturday. I could take that. 40 degrees on Saturday in Kansas City. Not too bad, so at some point this snow will melt, but it may take until Friday afternoon or maybe even Saturday afternoon to see that snow melt. We have another blast of cold air early next week, so we're talking about Sunday into Monday, where once again Minneapolis ends up below 0, 8 degrees below 0. Some of the coldest temperatures of the season so far, and record-breaking temperatures. That's what we're expecting from this next blast of cold air that's coming in late tonight and into early tomorrow morning. We're well below average, so if your average is, let's say, 60 degrees, you're about 10, 15, maybe 20 degrees below average tomorrow. Not only through the plains, but also through the Midwest. This will continue obviously on Thursday as well. That's really our cold day is Thursday. You're going to warm up a little bit on Friday, and then it will be cold once again later on this weekend and into early next week. How long is this cold sticking around? Well, December 8th through the 12th is what you're looking at here. It looks like it warms up out to the west, however, stays cold through the middle of December along the East Coast. What about that rainfall chance? Well, this time of year, it could be either rain or snow. That precip is going to favor the northern portion of the U.S., keeping the southern side of the U.S. on the dry side. So, who knows? Maybe this next round of snow that we're getting tomorrow will be it until later on December. We'll have to see. These are just kind of generalizations, what we expect through this entire period, the 8th through the 12th. So we could have some of those, maybe the 9th, or maybe the 11th, we have a chance for snow again. It's just kind of a generalization here. But it gives us a good look into the middle of December. As always, for your weather questions on what we talked about today, the hail potential in Houston today, and the winter weather chance in Oklahoma or in Colorado for today and tomorrow, put those questions in the comments section. We're pretty good about getting back to those questions either now or after the forecast is over. Also, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We are always posting weather updates on these sites. And give us a call if you're interested in a hail, wind, or tornado map. If hail hits in Houston tonight, we will be tracking it, so give us a call to get your map right now. Don't wait until the hail hits. Be prepared. 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. You can also head over to our website, hailtrace.com. Thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. You also heard from meteorologist Michaela Smith. We'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow.